Invest 98L, and what we're going to be going over is right now this is the current water vapor or temperature brightness of the convection within the circulation. So this is the basically showing the convective cloud tops, the superheated cloud tops, and what we're seeing is even at this time of night, where we get the loss of sun and the daytime heating, we're still seeing some very substantial growth, some very good convective growth. Right here is where the area of low pressure is right here, and you kind of see it where it's wrapping around just a bit. Kind of see that little curvature right here. That's indicative of organizing, and the last, I would say, 5-7 hours, it's been organizing pretty well. And another thing to realize here is that the area of circulation is becoming a little bit more organized, but when you have that deepening, that slight deepening, you get what's called inward pull, and what it's doing is it's sucking in all the moisture from the islands over here into the area of circulation. That basically means that it's deepening within the area of low pressure, and it's strengthening and becoming more organized. Now this will start to die, the convection will die off over the next few hours just a little bit due to it being nighttime. So we lose a little bit of that extra instability and a little bit of that extra boost of convection. So right now, that's what that looks like. Here, I'm going to show everyone. This is the GEPS model. This one, what we're looking for is we're looking for consistency. We're looking for consistency in the models. And this is the GEPS model, and it's not handling it too well, but when we look at the GEFS, it's very similar. There's not a big model agreement indifference. That's what we're looking at. There's not a big indifference right now. Now the track and intensity will change with time, but model consistency, even being this far out, is doing an all right job. I know about a day and a half ago, we had an 800-mile spread, and things are coming together now with a little bit more consistency. And this is another plot ensemble. This is showing basically pretty much similar to the other forecast models, and it's pretty close. So Florida, definitely from the Florida Panhandle down to Tampa and south of Tampa. Right now, there's not an exact track. We're just going by forecast models. So this is a forecast model. It is not a forecast. So please keep that in mind. But you need to have your hurricane preparations in order, and you need to start, going over your safety plan. Do I have this? Do I have this water? Do I have these extra batteries? Do I have these things? Is my vehicle fueled up? Now, about 3 to 4 days before, we get, 3 to 4 days into the event, when we get closer, we'll have a better idea of the track and whatnot. But there is model consistency, and it's starting to get better. Now, and I'll go over here real quick. There are a few forecast models. This is a model intensity guidance. It's basically sampling of the environment. It's model saying, hey, this might be what this could turn out to be. Right now, I'm just going to show everyone these particular intensity guidance models because it gives a general idea. What we could potentially be looking at. Yes, you see a Cat 5. Don't look at that. What we're looking at here is you see the consistency. You see these markers here. And what you look for is these are each individual different models, and you look for the average. You look for the average on these, and you figure it out from there. And I would say from a 2 to a 3 right now would be a good idea. Now, there is a little bit of a difference with the guidance, and I'll go over that here in just a second. As we look at different runs, and let's see here, hold on. So the last day, I've seen the average start to creep up just a bit, and it's a little concerning, but being this far out, take it with a grain of salt. You know, this is a guidance. It's not a forecast. I'm just putting the information out there. Normally, I won't do a detailed description of what could potentially happen this far out. But due to the model guidance and the consistency in the model agreement, that's why I'm doing this. So this is just for your information and to help guide along. So this is a different run. This is the 06Z run. We're seeing, once again, the average being between a 2 and a 3. Now also, you have to realize that there is a lot of different variables with these systems that can change in 6 to 12 hours. So there's a lot at play here. There's a lot of different dynamic moving parts to these tropical systems that can negatively affect it to where it can weaken it, degrade it, or it can also cause it to wobble or become a lopsided storm. So there's a lot of different variables that go into it. So this is the 12Z, and once again we're seeing a lot of consistency with this guidance, with the intensity guidance. And I like looking for consistency. I like to average them out. A lot of meteorologists will actually average them out and look for consistency. That's what you look for when you're looking at model data. There's a lot of different data that goes into this, and you try to find the middle ground, that sweet spot in forecasting. And you know, once again, the 18Z run, this one again, you know, is hinting at that, a little bit more of a spread. I do believe that the intensity guidance will go down just a little bit with the next update because of losing the heating. But overall, it looks like a potential threat, and it could be a extensive threat. But right now, we're just too far out to pinpoint an exact location. But consistency with data is getting some more substantial. That's why I'm doing this live, you know, so you guys can be aware. I'm going to go ahead and go into something else here real quick, and I want to point out something as well. So this is the water vapor imagery, and this is what I was talking about right here. You see this slight curvature? This is where the area of low pressure is, right through here. But you're starting to have that little bit of a deepening in that general area, and this is the newest update with some more convective development. It looks like some new convective development right there and right here as well. And we're starting to get a slight spin right in this area, and I think we're having a new area develop. It's trying to organize a new area of circulation, and I think that's what we're seeing here. And if that's the case, that can also play a factor in track complications as well. So, and being with it rapidly organizing, is what we've seen over the last 12 hours, and organizing, that can play a factor in it as well. What we're going to look at now is the sea surface temperatures, and the Gulf of Mexico has not been touched. The waters are very warm, like bath water, between 79 and 83 degrees, and that's really warm. So a lot of the times when you get other systems that move into the area, say example, if we had a tropical, if we had a tropical system, a hurricane into the Gulf earlier in the season, what tends to happen is you have the waters will churn up from the bottom. The cooler waters will churn up from the bottom, and it will bring it up to the surface. So basically, it's stabilizing the ocean and bringing that cooler water up. So it can temporarily stabilize the environment, the surface environment, and it can also temporarily stabilize the atmospheric side of the environment as well. But we haven't had that this year. We have not had that. So, with that being said, sometimes just having one storm is all it takes to make some big problems. So, cigar went out. I talked too much. So, right now, this is just to be, to let everyone know, say, hey, there's a potential problem. It's caught my attention. It's caught other meteorologists' attention. And it bears watching. A lot will change. And I will mention, there is the potential that it could turn a bit towards the northeast a little bit sooner. And if it does that, it could skim right past Florida. I don't see that happening right now, but I like to throw out all of the details, the good and the bad and the neutral, when we do forecasting, because we like to keep it honest. So with that being said, it just needs to be watched, and to go from there, I would say in the next, the 25th, things will really start to come together. Even the 24th, the evening of the 24th, things will really start to come together a lot more. So, we're going to look at a forecast model real quick, and let me change out the regions and go from there. Western Atlantic. Ooh, Fiona is actually sitting at 932 millibars right now. Very, very, very intense hurricane, catastrophic. And so this is in the next 36 hours. Now this is the GFS model. It is, I believe, right now underplaying it just a bit. Now we're going to go ahead and skip to the 25th. Now if this is correct, it will be a tropical storm, probably sometime in the very early morning hours of the 25th. I think during the day on the 25th we will probably hit hurricane status. We may hit hurricane status just a little bit before then. Like I said, there's a lot of different variables, but it's looking more and more likely. And this is the 7 a.m. on the 26th. We're sitting at a 963. And this is when, about this time is when it starts to take that more northerly turn. Now, depending on when it does take that turn, if it takes that turn too soon, it could go by the Florida Keys and go off to the northeast and scooch on by Florida. I don't see that happening right now, but it is a scenario. We're going over every scenario that could potentially happen. So this forecast model keeps it over less land and allows it to strengthen even further. Now, if it does take that more northeast turn, it's going to go over a little bit more of the mountainous range and more land, so it could cause it to become degraded and weaken slightly due to landmass resistance. So with that being said, this is the 27th. Like I said, this is a forecast model. It's going to change. This is the 27th, and we're sitting at a pretty stout, potentially pretty stout hurricane. We're sitting at between 965 and 955 millibar, and as we go through, this is 1 o'clock on the 27th. This is 110 hours out. We're sitting at a 949 to 954. And it is, this is a forecast model. It's not a forecast. This is just a scenario. It's going to change. And somewhere in Florida, or a little bit, maybe a little bit more towards the west, just a little bit in the Florida Panhandle. But this shows a potential pretty stout, destructive hurricane with a 950 to 960 millibar rating, and that's pretty significant. Now, I hope it goes a little bit further west. The reason why I'm saying that is because I would like it to go a little bit further north. One, it's better on gas when I go down there. Well, first of all, also, if it goes a little bit further to the north and west in this general area, some of the storm surge won't be as bad, even at a major hurricane status. Due to the topography of the landmass, it tends to absorb that impact, and it helps spread the water out. What I'm concerned with, and this is a scenario, the other scenario is if Invest 98L doesn't take that northeast turn and goes straight up north from this location, it's going to have more time on open water to become more strong. The only thing is, though, I will mention at the time there'll be some wind shear at about the 850 millibar to 500. That's light to moderate shear, but the shear will be weaker on the western side in the northern Gulf, as the shear in this general area will be a little bit stronger. So that's also another scenario as well. The other scenario that I don't particularly like is the Tampa area. The Tampa area geographically is a fishbowl. The topography problem with Tampa is you have an inlet that goes inlet like this, and depending on the placement of a tropical system, the water can funnel in and build up. Due to the type of geographical restraints that area has, it tends to resist and build up without relaxing and being released back. So that's another scenario I'm watching. Like I said, these are scenarios that could potentially happen. Just going over it so every one of my followers and viewers knows what we may particularly be dealing with. So with that said, I hope you all have a great night. I hope this was very informative. This is a basically going over what could potentially happen. This isn't a forecast. I'm just going over different scenarios that could play out. But given model consistency and whatnot, it does appear to becoming a bigger threat based off model consistency. That's not to say, don't run to the store now and buy a bunch of stuff. Don't do that. Wait until your local area gives out the appropriate information and you start to see a track. Now, listen, when you have a substantial hurricane develop, there's what's called track wobble, and that is what occurs underneath rapid intensification. And you may hear different terms like shotgun rapid intensification or shotgun intensification, and it all means the same thing. But when you undergo rapid intensification, you can have what's called track wobble, and track wobble can be from 2 miles to 30 miles. There can be big differences in the overall track, and that can be a big difference on the impact on a geographical local area. So please keep that in mind as well. We've seen that during Hurricane Laura, and we saw that during Hurricane Ida, and we saw that during Hurricane Sally. We also seen that during Hurricane Zeta, where we had rapid intensification with track wobble, and with Hurricane Ida it was the brown ocean effect, where the latent heat energy is stored prior to the storm arrival in the soil, and when the storm goes over that area, over land, it tends to absorb that stored energy in the ground, absorbs it, and it fuels the storm to the point to where it can continue to strengthen even on land. Now, that's usually in the Louisiana marshlands, but I don't see that being a problem in Florida, at least geographically, not right now. I don't see that being a problem. It can change, but that's also another potential scenario, especially if it goes down to the Keys area. The southwest part of Florida, northwest of the Keys, that area tends to hold a lot of latent heat energy because it's all marshland. So if you have, that's another potential scenario. Like I said, these are just scenarios to go over, but with model consistency, it seems like this live was warranted. So I hope you guys find this helpful. Please share. I appreciate it a lot for joining in. Yeah, I talked a lot, but I like to go over everything, and I like to keep it very honest with the forecasting. Go over every single scenario and every single plot that could happen, because that's what I do. So y'all have